Disney Plus's National Treasure Edge of History has debuted. The first two episodes have come out, and Disney Plus is a D minus. Oh, my people. Oh, my Slantinos. Oh, my goodness. Is this horrible? And scene. Listen, listen. There's a lot to unpack, and yet, why over the show? It's telling that it's coming from Disney, and then after Wakanda Forever, this is my biggest fears have been realized. But I'm not going to do this alone. We're going to bring in one of our favorites, La Reina Crio, who's got some words as well. Hello, my lady.
Hello, Paulie. How are you? Looking
Yeah,
handsome.
yeah, man. I'm just like slapping myself. What did I just see?
What did I just see? And I'm
Yeah,
looking and I'm just like,
yeah.
y'all get an F for history. Y'all get an F, F, hot
Mm.
F's everywhere. F's for writing, just
F is
everywhere.
okay. All right, we're talking about National Treasure, Edge of History, new TV show. I believe it's 8 to 10 episodes. The first two
Yes.
have dropped on Disney
Hmm.
Plus. I guess you already got a taste of how we feel about this, but let's go with a non-spoiler, a few minutes like overview of these first two episodes. So we'll put that little banner up. That way, if people,
Yes.
beware now. So, Lorena, I'm going to give you center stage. Non-spoilers. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings on this?
My feelings are if you are a fan of the National Treasure films, skip this because it is not recognizable. At all. There isn't that dramatic sense of urgency with a clue uncovering another clue uncovering another clue where all the work and everything is put in. Because if you remember the two movies, there were all these puzzles and things that you had to solve, and something led into something else. And like with the Declaration of Independence, they couldn't just walk in there and walk out with it. They had to come up with a plan to do that. For this show, there is no plan. You just bump into stuff. Boom, here's a clue here. Bump into stuff. Boom, here's a clue that's over there. And I'm just tongue tied because they have this very, very good, I will say, motivation of the DACA story. But the way that they go around telling it is the most nonsensical mess that I've ever seen. And granted, it is only two episodes, but
Right.
with the National Treasure movies, everything tied back into American history. The first one, it was about the American Revolution. The second one was about El Diablo and how the Confederates wanted to get their hands on that gold
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
fight against the Union in the United States.
Yeah. Really cool.
Very cool how they
Right.
did that, and very historically accurate how they did that. With this,
Yeah.
historically,
Yeah.
several ways they could connect this to
Okay.
American history, but none of it is there. All
Good.
we see
Yeah.
is that it's okay, we have these indigenous women, I'll put it to you like that. No differentiation among cultures. It literally looks like a scene ripped off from Zack Snyder's Justice League with the mother boxes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good because it was pretty lame. Um, y- you
Dude.
know,
Whew.
there's a lot that I can tolerate as long as I'm being entertained. Because let's face it, National Treasure movies weren't like perfect movies. They were kind of like rip-offs of Raiders of the Lost Ark, But I was fine with that. I was entertained. It was silly. I loved all the historical, twists and turns. So cool. Um, In reading this past year and looking at the trailer and its possibilities, I'm like, wow, I love this idea
Mm-hmm.
of expanding American history to include Mesoamerican history and how we're all connected. Whether you're, whatever background if you're an American, there is a huge connection to Mesoamericans that we don't know we don't have that we have, including African as well. So I'm like, man, what a great opportunity. Um, I remember reading that first line when they described it. Uh, you know, Jessie is a DACA, and she's got
Mm-hmm.
a first group of friends, and I was like, oh man, this is not going to be good. And you know what? It's worse. It's worse than what I thought. I mean, it is their dialogue, their characters are
Mm-hmm.
so silly, so it makes the CW look bad. I feel, but also too, the Wibberleys who created the National Treasures and
Mm-hmm.
they made no qualms. They're like, we're making this a female led thing. I'm like, cool, I have no problem with that. That's fantastic. And I love this actor. We're not talking about the actors personally. I actually love Catherine Zeta Jones's character. um
Mm-hmm.
um so the thing is, I think the Wibberleys really smoked too much of that Wokoso weed, and just, you know what, we're not going to hire any real historians, or maybe, hey, how about a Latino writer? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think? And they just kind of did their own lazy research right away. You saw it, and we're not talking spoilers just yet, but we saw it with just it wasn't not it was lazy you know uh, historical inaccuracy. It was completely made up. And they're making it up. They've made shit up. And my biggest fear is that people are going to think that that's how it really happened, and it's not. It's absolutely not. So and that was never the case before in the other movies, right? Like you said, it always had some level of accuracy with
Yes.
some high drama, which I loved. What do you think about what I said?
No, you're 100% accurate with that.
Hmm.
One of the reasons that I was excited about checking this out was
Hmm.
from my own background,
Hmm.
with my family basically being in the Spanish Caribbean and Louisiana and Florida. At one period of
Mm,
time, all of that area was controlled by the Spanish Empire. So there are records about my family that are not in English; they're in
yeah.
Spanish, and I had to look those up. And it's just the history that's there, that kind
Yeah.
of like the rabbit hole that I went through. I did not know that the reason that the Americans actually wound up winning the last battle, the decisive battle of the Revolutionary War, those French ships were
Hmm.
paid for with gold and silver from Cuba.
Yeah.
Where did that gold and
Where
silver
did that
come
come
from?
from? It all comes from Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And no one, even if they would have just did a bit of research and pulled all of that
Hmm.
historical accuracy, they could have tied it back to the American Revolution. They could have tied it back to Bernardo de Galvez, who is from Louisiana. There's a
Mm,
statue of him in
mm,
Galveston. There's a plaque for him
mm,
actually somewhere in New Orleans. And if it
mhm.
wasn't for him, they wouldn't have been able to block the Mississippi River to stop supplies from going up that way to the British. And that is history out there that anybody
I
could look
mean,
up if they were diligent
s-
enough.
okay, so let's just pause, right? Because we could be wrong. We're just basing off of two episodes, but from the
This is
two
true.
episodes that we saw, from what we're seeing, and we'll start doing spoilers now. Um, in the first episode, so I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. Like, let's say they get into some of that cool history, like you said. I believe there's gonna be a point in time where they are dressed up as either French or Mexican soldiers. I'm curious about that.
Okay.
Right. So, I've never reported this before on the channel, like seeing some, some images from the set filming. But from what I saw, right, they established that our heroine uh, is a DACA, an
Mm-hmm.
undocumented lady who came here as a kid, and she's part of DACA, which I have major problems with. Not DACA, but but the setup in the storyline, right? Which it doesn't, that's a whole nother argument. Her parents are from Mexico, and they're part of a lineage of protectors of the treasure of Moctezuma's gold,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Moctezuma with the C. It's not with an N, guy. So that's another stupid thing.
Yeah, it's an English thing.
But I mean, there's like a literally like a 10 to 15 second history of the sacking of Tenochtitlan of Mexico City by the Spanish army, and how at that time a group of indigenous women took the gold and left.
Bruh,
And
my
hid it.
face was like, I'm sorry, is that did you hear what I
Hmm.
think I heard?
Hid it, and there's these boxes held by the Mayan, the Aztec, and the Incan. Where I'm like, sure, sure, you might as well say, by the Martians and the people from Venus, because it's really, really, pretty much the same thing. Especially at that time. But there's those three boxes, and I guess each one is part of a map to the gold,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was just beyond silly, Lorena.
That the history buff in me, my head just
Yeah,
exploded. I'm like, okay, you have
yeah.
these three distinctly different Mesoamerican nations
Mm-hmm.
who nowhere completely near each other.
Mm-hmm.
But as for the Aztec and the Maya, completely different. They weren't allies. How the heck are you putting them all together
Yeah.
and kind of making them, I will say, making them homogenous? Because when they had those three boxes, we were talking about Jack in the Box kind of things. It's like, if you're going to do that, why don't you make something distinctive to each nationality? It's not a whole
Well, it's made
homogenous
up.
mix.
Yeah,
Exactly. It was
it's
it
made
was
up.
completely made up.
Like I said, it was Mesoamerican and Jack in the Boxes.
Yes.
Do, 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 boop.
Jack in the Box mother boxes. I mean, the
Mother
way they
boxes.
brought them
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, so yeah, they ripped it off Zack Snyder's
So
studios.
this is our lead, Lisette Olivera. She
Hmm.
plays Jessie Valenzuela, the dreamer. Um, and she's got the most annoying set of friends. And hey, I guess because they're Gen Zers, they could be annoying. And I don't know how they pay rent, because I rarely they never work, and they live in this really badass loft.
In Baton Rouge, not making a little bit of money they make now.
One's a wannabe YouTuber. I'm like, what is going on here? What is going on here? I mean, the kid, the yeah. So her friends are just, and of course, the dudes are weenies. Of
Oh
course,
my God, yes.
of course.
It's throw masculinity out the door. They really don't know what to do. They're just stupid. They're bumbling idiots, is
They're
pretty much
bumbling
what they
idiots.
are.
Every it almost seems every male in this is vilified, and even her father is
Thank you.
vilified. Um,
Thank you.
up until the ending of, well, so she grew up vilifying her dad,
Mhm.
because that's what the mom thought it would be best, like, because she doesn't want the mom, her to be like her dad. And then you find out that the mom is part of this, she was part of the same thing as well, because she wrote that paper on the on the
Yeah.
in on I cannot wait to see what this paper is all about, as far as the Mesoamerican Aztec theory of the treasure.
Mhm.
It looks like there's going to be some connection to La Malinche, and I'm just really, really just dreading this. But let's stay on the on these two episodes.
Okay.
What did you think about what did you think about this lead?
Well, the lead actress, I do like her acting in general.
Mm-hmm.
I really have no problem with uh with her character, how she portrays it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the beginning, it seemed kind of annoying that she was zeroing in on these little details, but that's kind of like that type of personality that you have to have, that attention to detail, especially
Mm-hmm.
for the type of job that she wanted to have. So I'm like, okay, I get it. You're not exactly
Mm-hmm.
smooth when you're a teenager. You do dumb stuff. So
Yeah.
I didn't mind seeing her, at all. Her
Yeah.
reaction seemed very realistic to what's being presented, in
Mm-hmm.
the material, some of it as ridiculous, as it is, but I really had no, problem with her. I actually liked her more than her and the actor who plays Liam. Those 2
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
actually liked. Everyone else, it was just like, "The acting is horrible. Why are
Yeah.
you here? Why did they pick you? Were you just the cheapest that they could get?" There was You have actors
Mm-hmm.
who will have small bit parts,
Yeah.
but they're so good in them that they're unforgettable. Not
Yeah.
this group.
I would agree with you. My, I think again, it just comes back to this horrible writing. That these two actors and even Catherine Zeta kind of excelled beyond their dialogue.
Mhm.
So what happens is also too, Jesse here, she connects with Harvey Keitel, who I guess has dementia and is gonna. I mean, you talk about a tease? He's only in it for one episode,
One
and I was,
episode.
and
One
so, and yeah, go ahead.
No, I was to say one episode,
Hmm.
and I know this is a different subject, but I'll bring it up.
Sure.
It's like instead of bringing Nicolas Cage, even bringing him in for the first episode,
Hmm.
you bring in Harvey Keitel, whose character is barely rememberable from National Treasure 1 and 2.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah, and they did refer to Nicolas Cage as a pain in the ass. Like, Harvey, you remind me, when he was talking to Lisette. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cute. Like there was like a couple of good little moments here and there. Um, but again, they're talking about made up history where he's telling her like everything you know about your dad is wrong. Let me tell you about the sacking of Montezuma's gold.
Hmm.
um I'm like, how did this guy become part of Nicolas Cage's thing? Wasn't he not a part of that? Wasn't Sandusky a Fed? I mean, where did
Yes,
he?
he was a Fed. He was an
Mm-hmm.
FBI agent. Because I went back and looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember him ever being in on it.
Right.
Supposedly, he was the guy who arrested Nicolas Cage for stealing the Declaration of Independence. So
Right. He was like by the book dude.
yeah,
Right.
so I couldn't really see how all of a sudden
Most
did
important.
he get a hold of all of this, not only get a hold of all of this treasure,
Mm-hmm.
but turns out that he's also a Mason as well. I That seemed
Right.
that was just so
Yeah.
convenient,
Yeah.
and it didn't make sense
There's a
that it
lot
was
of
him.
there's a lot of things that didn't make sense, that became flaws, especially in her character, that she would have already figured out because she's a very smart girl.
Mhm.
Um, so even the setup of her where she works at doesn't make sense. If you're a DACA, you can work anywhere, and this highly intelligent person who went to prep school and all that stuff is working at public storage. Um, that was just straight. Like to me, I would have loved to have her have been more of a nerd working in a library. That would have been
Either
so
a
cool.
either a library, or we'll take it a step further with
Mhm.
branding, working at the Genius Bar at the Apple Store.
Cute, cute. Well, yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I think that's great. I so okay, again, I can go with it, but so there's everything also too with the language from, as far as social and political agendas with, being Latinx and
Hmm.
BLM and peaceful protests. I mean, everything's thrown at you. Everything.
Gendered. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Everything, everything, any kind of social or political agenda the last few years, they it's almost like they threw it in here with the side characters talking out of their mouths or
Hmm.
being smart asses to adults.
I just.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're being absolutely for real here, guys.
Yeah, this is truly
Um,
what it is going on here.
yeah, and so but let's be a little positive. I think we already said this before. This relationship right here is probably the most positive I got out of this. Um, this is Liam, who's Sandusky's grandson,
Hmm.
and now they have a common goal at the end of episode two. It should have gotten it. This should have gotten to at the end of episode one.
Agreed.
Yeah, you know. What did you think? I know you liked it off of that.
Um, yeah, I did like the ending with what they discovered
Mm-hmm.
with the mom's academic paper. Their chemistry was actually very realistic. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even when she gets the job in the bar, and he's basically trying to doctor, and she's just like, yeah, huh, whatever. You're gonna have to do better than that. I thought that
Right.
was a cute. I thought
Yeah.
that was a cute and realistic moment, and the carrot of, well, maybe I'm just crazy, but got some stuff to show you that you're interested in with respect to this treasure. I want to prove that I'm not nuts. So I like that line as well. So near the end of this episode was actually like, okay, maybe this might sort of improve with the third episode. If they didn't have these last 5 minutes,
Right.
I think I would have completely
Yeah.
tapped out.
Yeah. We're giving like I said in our scoring. I'm giving it a 1 out of 5 the first two episodes only because of this last scene and Catherine Zeta and the lead. Otherwise, it's to me it's a complete zero. Uh,
I'm giving it a zero point 0.5 because I'm so irritated by the flagrant disregard for history in this.
uh,
And they could have even established up front something that was much better
sure.
historically, that didn't paint men as just deadbeats or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. They could have done it a lot better. They could have done it more quickly up front to establish two things: one, her
Mm-hmm.
story as DACA, more for information and
Yeah.
informing people, and two, for making that link directly to U.S. history.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't
Yeah.
done. They didn't even drop a nugget in there. You know.
Well, I think them adding DACA is completely bullshit and it's lazy. I didn't appreciate it, and I said to you, if I'm a dreamer, like someone who's actually going through that, I would be furious at this. Total, just a virtue signal, a victimhood, stamp written by people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. Um, I actually think what would have been far more interesting, again, and I've said this in a video a few months ago, is make her a Mexican American, and she's a citizen. She's an American that
Mhm.
can travel back and forth. That Chicano experience is one of doubting both our countries. Like we really don't fit in. What's
Mhm.
going on? That to me is way that experience has been going on since they created the border. That is right there for you. But they're going with the hot topic as we speak, the
Mhm.
hot topic of the day. And then of course I don't want to use the D word, but if you do this, everyone was always reminding her she can get deported. Like, shut the
It's
fuck
like, what
up.
happens to a whole bunch of people? What makes you special? And it kind of like tap onto that. I like that
Yeah.
whole idea of the Mexican American identity. It's like to take a step further into history with what was going on in Spanish Louisiana, especially with the Revolutionary War. There were so many people who were Mexican, who came from Mexico to Louisiana, fought in the
Hmm.
Spanish military for the American Revolutionary War. How cool would it have been for her to find out that one of her ancestors fought in the American Revolution and were eligible to be in the daughters of the American Revolution or the sons of the American Revolution? And that just would have
Absolutely.
added more like education, more family dynamics, more of uniting us as
Right.
people instead of purposely going for division and virtue signaling. So that's kind of like basically why I gave it a zero point 0.5 because it's just like,
Yeah.
come on, it
Yeah.
was right there. You didn't do it.
And hey, there's more episodes, but this is our first two that we're giving, and we felt passionate enough to get together and do this review. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Any final words, Lorena?
Uh
Because we could keep tearing it down, but I'm like, I think
we could, but I'll put it to you like this.
yeah,
If the last 5 minutes are worth figuring out what's going to happen in episode 3, if you are so inclined. However, if you're just like, I'm done with this, it's completely understandable because that first episode should have hooked you and it
yeah.
failed miserably.
That's it, guys. Lorena is 0.5 out of 5. I am 1 out of 5 for Catherine Zeta. I think she was great as Billy.
I did love her.
And for Lisette, um, in hopes that we can get rid of those stupid friends
Yeah.
and just, that's not going to happen.
Mm-mm. They're going to cling on.
We'll see, but that's our rating for the first two episodes. You can always catch Lorena Crio on her channel here in the slant as well. You guys leave us comments wherever you're at. Keep that slant fuerte. Gracias.